Okay, so we're back
Mhm.
and ready to like really dig into this topic.
Yeah.
We all spend a ridiculous amount of time just like getting around,
True.
whether it's a quick trip to the store or planning out, a big vacation. Transportation is just this thing that is like constantly with us.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because you might think you've got it all figured out, like you know how to get around.
Right.
But we've actually unearthed some surprisingly insightful stuff for today's deep dive.
Cool.
We're looking at excerpts from an English language lesson,
Okay.
which sounds basic, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually packed with these like really practical ways to talk about transport
Yes.
and some really interesting perspectives on how different people approach their daily commute and longer journeys.
I'm intrigued.
So our mission on this deep dive is to extract like the most useful vocabulary for you
Mm-hmm.
and then really get under the skin of these different viewpoints.
I like it. It's fascinating how much we can learn about each other and even ourselves by looking at something as simple as how we travel. This isn't just about learning a few new phrases.
Yes.
It's about understanding the choices people make
Right.
and the language they use to describe those choices.
Right.
Because that can tell us a lot about their priorities and their experiences.
So let's actually think about your own situation for a sec. The source material kicks off with some questions aimed right at you.
Okay.
What's the best way to get around your hometown? Do you drive often?
Interesting.
And what public transport do you use regularly?
Good questions.
Hold those thoughts, because what follows is essentially a peek into how other people answer these questions,
Okay.
along with a treasure trove of handy vocabulary you can use too.
Yeah, love it. These initial questions are brilliant because they immediately make this relevant to your life.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's not some abstract discussion.
exactly.
It's about the reality of your daily movements.
Yeah.
And the options that are available to you.
Right.
And the dialogue we're about to explore really highlights some common yet distinct ways people navigate their worlds.
Right. So in our source, the first bit of conversation is between two people discussing their usual transport habits.
Got it.
One of them says, I mostly use public transport, so I'll take the metro or sometimes buses.
Yeah.
I have a car, but I don't use it much in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And the other responds, I don't have a car, so I either cycle or walk most places. Sometimes I take the metro or a taxi if I'm going further or if I'm out in the evening.
Interesting.
It's striking how different these two approaches are.
Absolutely. What stands out to me is how these choices reflect different lifestyles
Yeah.
and potentially different values as well.
Right.
One person, despite having a car, actively chooses public transport for their city travel,
Yeah.
suggesting a prioritization of maybe convenience,
Mm-hmm.
cost effectiveness, or even environmental concerns.
Right.
The other, lacking a car, defaults to active transport,
Yeah.
highlighting a possible preference for health, sustainability, or even just like the enjoyment of cycling and walking.
Yeah. And the cycling aspect is particularly interesting.
Yeah.
The person who cycles points out,
Okay.
once you know the best routes you can get anywhere in the city center quite fast, often is faster than driving because you can take small streets and you don't get stuck in traffic jams.
Mm-hmm.
But the other person's still not convinced, replying, I still wouldn't do it, though.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost feel the cyclist's enthusiasm
Right.
clashing with the other person's apprehension.
Yeah. This really gets to the heart of a common urban experience.
Right.
For those who cycle regularly in cities, the efficiency and freedom can be a real draw.
Yeah.
But the skepticism from the other person likely reflects concerns about safety,
Right.
the effort involved,
Yeah.
or maybe just a lack of familiarity with cycling infrastructure.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what would need to change to make cycling a more appealing option for more people in a busy city.
Totally. Then they move on to talking about the metro. One of them says, the metro works well for me. I can always get where I need, and I know how long it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
The other agrees it's generally good,
Mm-hmm.
but adds a common complaint.
Okay.
Yeah, the metro's good, but I hate taking it during rush hour. It's so crowded.
Yeah.
It's that classic trade-off, isn't it?
Totally.
Reliability and predictability on one hand,
Yeah.
but the discomfort of overcrowding on the other.
Exactly. The metro's reliability and extensive network are significant advantages for many urban commuters.
Yeah.
However, the experience during peak times can be a major deterrent.
Right.
This highlights the constant balancing act in public transport planning.
Right.
How do you maximize capacity and comfort while maintaining efficiency and affordability?
Yeah.
What small changes could make a big difference to the rush hour experience?
And finally, they touch on the daily commute to work.
Okay.
One person mentions it takes at least 40 minutes to get to work.
Right.
By metro,
Yeah.
I have to change lines, which adds a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
The other has a much shorter journey.
Okay.
My office is actually very close, so I can walk in about 20 minutes. I walk in once or twice a week and cycle on the other days.
Wow.
That's a huge difference in the amount of time dedicated to just getting to and from work each day.
It really underscores how much location can influence lifestyle.
Yeah.
The difference between a 40-minute commute with a transfer and a 20-minute walk or bike ride
Right.
isn't just about travel time. It impacts the amount of free time,
Yeah.
stress levels, and even opportunities for exercise.
Absolutely.
It makes you think about how urban design and proximity to amenities can shape our daily routines.
So thinking back to that initial question for you, how do you get around?
Yeah.
Our source gives some really simple and direct ways to answer.
Okay.
Drawing it from that conversation.
Yeah.
You could say, I mostly use the subway, or I drive most places, or sometimes I use trams. Straight to the point.
And it's useful to note that when we're talking about public transport like the metro or buses,
Yeah.
you can use both use and take interchangeably.
Yeah.
So I use the metro means the same as I take the metro.
Right.
It's good to have that flexibility in your vocabulary.
But when it comes to your own personal ways of getting around, using your own power, so to speak,
Yeah.
we use specific verbs.
Okay.
Drive, cycle, and walk. So you'd naturally say, I don't drive often,
Right.
or I used to cycle, but I don't have a bike anymore, or I walk if I'm going somewhere in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
These verbs are quite precise.
Exactly. You wouldn't typically say, I take my car.
Right.
In the same way you'd say, I take the bus.
Yeah.
Drive is the active verb for cars.
Right.
The cycle is for bikes, and walk is for getting around on foot.
Exactly.
Keeping those distinctions in mind can make your English sound more natural.
Now let's delve a bit deeper into discussing public transport.
Okay.
The source presents a really common scenario. Someone asking for directions.
Okay.
They ask, so what's the best way to get to your place? Are you driving or taking the metro? And the response is equally familiar to anyone who's driven in a busy area.
Right.
I'll come by metro so I don't have to worry about parking. It's a small comment,
Yeah.
but it speaks volumes about the challenges of parking in many cities.
Yeah. The hassle and cost of parking can often be a significant deterrent to driving in urban areas.
Right.
Public transport offers a clear advantage there,
Yeah.
allowing you to bypass that search for a parking spot and the fees that come with it.
The directions then get quite specific.
Okay.
You live on the Green Line, right?
Yeah.
So you can take the Green Line to Victoria in the center. From there, you can either change to the Blue Line for 2 stops, or you can get a bus.
Okay.
Then comes the practical question.
Mm-hmm.
Which is better?
Okay.
And the local advises.
Uh-huh.
I take the bus. It leaves you closer to my house. Take bus number 27 and get off at October Square. It's easy to find. It's the first stop after you cross the river.
Wow.
This really paints a picture of navigating a public transport system.
It does. Giving and receiving clear directions is crucial when using public transport,
Right.
especially in a new city.
Right.
Notice the level of detail provided.
Right.
The specific line colors the station names,
Yeah.
the bus number,
Yeah.
and even a landmark like the river.
Right.
These are all key elements for a smooth journey.
And then come those essential practical questions we all have when relying on public transport.
Okay.
Where does it leave from?
Hmm.
Answer, the bus stop is right outside the metro station. You can't miss it.
Right.
Then how often do the buses go? They're very regular. I don't know exactly, but I never wait more than 10 minutes, normally much less.
Okay.
And finally, thinking about the return trip.
Mm-hmm.
What time did the buses run until?
Right.
The buses run until midnight, so you should be fine. The Green Line stops at 1, right?
Yeah.
It's a Friday, so it'll run till 2 o'clock. I don't think it'll be a problem.
Wow.
This is the kind of information that can make or break a journey.
Absolutely. Knowing the departure point frequency and operating hours of public transport is fundamental for planning and peace of mind.
Right.
It's those practical details that allow you to feel confident and in control of your travel.
The source then makes a really useful point.
Okay.
Different cities use different names for their underground systems.
Right.
Subway, metro, tube, underground, U-Bahn.
Mm-hmm.
But they all essentially mean the same thing.
Yeah.
The suggestion is to stick with metro or subway if you're unsure, as they tend to be more widely understood.
Got it.
It's a great tip for avoiding travel confusion.
That's a smart piece of advice.
Yeah.
While locals will understand their city's specific term using a more general word like metro or subway, increases the chances of being understood in a wider range of places.
It also broadens our vocabulary by mentioning other types of public transport you might encounter, such as trams, light rail, and shared taxis.
Okay.
Each serves a slightly different purpose depending on the city's layout and needs.
Right. These alternative forms of public transport often fill specific niches within a city's transportation network.
Yeah.
Trams and light rail can be efficient for navigating dense urban areas,
Yeah.
while shared taxis can provide a more flexible option in areas with less extensive bus routes.
We also learn how metro lines are often referred to by their color.
Okay.
I live on the green line.
Oh.
Change to the blue line at Victoria, and buses by their number.
Yeah.
Take bus number 27.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how you can sometimes drop the word bus if the context is clear.
Right.
Like saying, take the number 3 for 5 stops. That's a little local linguistic shortcut.
Those are the kinds of informal language patterns that you pick up through immersion,
Yeah,
but it's helpful to be aware of them.
totally.
It shows a certain familiarity with the local transport system.
And those key questions about schedules are worth repeating.
Okay.
Where does it leave from?
Yeah.
How often do the trains go? What time does the subway run? Until the example answers provided are also really practical. It leaves from opposite the shopping center. There are trains every 5 minutes or so. The metro stops at midnight.
Okay.
These are templates you can adapt to almost any public transport scenario.
These are the essential building blocks for navigating any public transport system.
Right.
Knowing how to ask these questions and understand the answers empowers you to travel independently and efficiently.
Okay, let's switch gears now and talk about driving and car journeys.
All right.
The next bit of dialogue begins with a familiar greeting.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Right.
How was the drive? And the response is equally familiar to anyone who's driven in a busy area.
Right.
It wasn't too bad. We got stuck in traffic near Birmingham, so it was slow for a while, but everything else was smooth. The unpredictable nature of road travel.
Right. The phrase got stuck in traffic perfectly captures that frustrating experience of being in a traffic jam.
Yes.
And smooth is a great word to describe a journey that was uneventful and without delays.
We get a bit more detail about the trip.
Okay.
It was a bit over 4 hours. That's about average. Then the conversation turns to the vehicle itself.
Okay.
Your car looks very futuristic. Is it electric or something? No, it's a hybrid.
Okay.
Huh. What's it like to drive? It's nice. It uses the battery at low speed, so it's really quiet to drive in the city. It's also extremely efficient, which is good for longer trips. This gives us a nice snapshot of some of the key benefits of a hybrid car.
Yeah, this description highlights the appeal of hybrid vehicles, particularly their quiet operation in urban settings.
Yeah.
And their fuel efficiency on longer journeys.
Right.
It reflects a growing interest in more environmentally conscious and economical modes of personal transport.
Then we hear about the other person's car.
Okay.
I'm still driving my old Subaru, but it was secondhand when I bought it, and it's got over 200,000 kilometers on the clock, so it's starting to show its age. It's broken down 3 times this year already. A situation many car owners can probably relate to.
Totally. This illustrates the realities of owning an older vehicle,
Yeah.
where maintenance and reliability can become increasing concerns.
Yeah.
The phrase broken down is a key one to know when discussing car troubles.
This leads to the dilemma of choosing a new car.
Okay.
Part of me wants to get a bigger car, like an SUV or something, but then I know it'll be a nightmare to find parking or driving around the small streets in the center.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus those things go through fuel. They're expensive to run.
This really captures the practical considerations many people weigh when deciding on a new vehicle.
Right. This highlights the common trade-offs between different types of vehicles, especially in urban environments.
Right.
While an SUV might offer more space and comfort,
Yeah.
it often comes with drawbacks in terms of maneuverability, parking, and fuel economy,
Right.
making smaller or more fuel-efficient cars a more practical choice for city living.
The source then includes a useful little vocabulary recap.
Explaining that get stuck in traffic means being in a traffic jam. Secondhand means used and therefore usually cheaper than a new car.
Right.
Efficient describes a car that doesn't use much petrol.
Okay.
And breaks down means the car stops working.
Right.
These are all really practical terms when talking about driving.
These definitions provide clear and concise explanations of essential driving-related vocabulary, which is invaluable for understanding conversations about cars and travel.
It also clarifies that a smooth journey is one without any problems.
Right.
And a car that goes through fuel uses a lot of gas and is therefore inefficient and expensive to run.
Right.
And of course, it reminds us that a hybrid car uses electric power at lower speeds and a gasoline engine for higher speeds, or when more power is needed.
So these further definitions solidify our understanding of these key terms and concepts related to car ownership and journeys.
The source then prompts you to think about your own car,
Well,
or the kind of car you might like to have,
yeah.
and to try using this new vocabulary to describe it.
I like that. Reflecting on your personal experiences or preferences related to cars is a fantastic way to internalize this vocabulary and make it more readily available for your own use.
All right, let's shift gears one last time and talk about air travel.
Okay.
The final dialogue in our source begins with that all too familiar task: booking flights.
Mm-hmm.
One person says, "Are you doing anything? We need to book flights for our trip."
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. I had a look the other day. They're really expensive. A sentiment many of us can certainly relate to.
Totally. The cost of air travel is often a major hurdle.
Right.
And finding affordable options frequently involves some research and compromise.
The conversation quickly turns to finding cheaper alternatives.
Okay.
Direct flights are expensive, but I found a couple of cheaper options.
Mm-hmm.
The first choice is that we fly through Madrid.
Okay.
We can also go through Oslo, which is much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a 7-hour layover. The dreaded layover, a common trade-off for a lower fare.
Yeah, layovers can indeed significantly reduce the cost of flights.
Right.
But they come at the expense of increased travel time and potential fatigue.
Right.
It's a calculation many travelers have to make based on their priorities.
The Oslo option is quickly dismissed due to the long layover and late arrival.
Right.
Then they discuss the Madrid option.
Okay.
We'd fly Green Jet into Madrid and then Prince Air for the second leg.
Oh, okay.
The mention of Green Jet immediately elicits a strong negative reaction.
Really?
Green Jet? No way. I flew with them last year. They charge you for everything, and the seats are tiny. Besides, you need to take at least one checked bag, right?
Yeah.
They charge €55 if your bag is over 10 kilograms.
Oh, wow.
Plus, they don't serve food or drinks or even water. You have to buy it.
Oh, gosh.
This paints a pretty vivid picture of the budget airline experience.
Right. This firsthand account really highlights the business model of many budget airlines.
Yeah.
While the initial ticket price might seem attractive, the numerous additional charges for things that are often included with full-service carriers
Yeah.
can quickly negate those savings.
Yeah.
The cramped seating and lack of complimentary amenities are also common experiences.
The speaker then contrasts this with the potential benefits of other airlines.
Okay.
The seats have lots of legroom. Their staff are very helpful and polite. The food is pretty good. Suddenly paying a bit more might seem like a worthwhile investment.
Yeah.
They also explain that legroom, for those who might not know, is the space you have for your legs and feet when you're sitting down.
Yeah, these positive attributes underscore what you might get in return for a higher fare.
Right.
Greater comfort,
Yeah.
better service,
Yeah.
and potentially a more hassle-free travel experience.
Right.
Understanding what legroom means is a practical detail that can significantly impact your flight comfort, especially on longer journeys.
The source then provides definitions for some key air travel terms.
Okay.
A direct flight is one that goes straight to your destination without any stops. A layover is the waiting time you have when you change planes at an airport.
Right.
And the difference between a checked bag, which is luggage that goes in the plane's hold, and hand baggage, which is what you carry onto the plane with you.
Got it.
These are all essential terms to know when booking flights.
Having a clear understanding of this terminology is crucial for navigating the often complex world of air travel.
Right.
From searching for flights to understanding baggage allowances and transfer processes.
Finally, the listener is invited to think about their own best or worst experiences with airlines
Okay.
and what made them so memorable. It's always interesting to hear about those personal travel stories, isn't it?
Personal anecdotes can offer valuable insights into the different levels of service and experiences various airlines provide, helping others make more informed choices when planning their own trips.
And the source wraps up with a final task,
Okay.
encouraging you to think about how you get around your own hometown and to consider the advantages and disadvantages of the different transportation options available to you there.
Got it.
It really brings everything full circle, connecting the language lesson back to your own daily life.
Right. This final reflection is a great way to solidify your understanding of both the vocabulary and the broader concepts we've discussed by applying them to your own local context.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close,
Yeah,
you can see we've covered a huge amount of ground.
we have.
We've explored how to talk about getting around in general.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken a detailed look at public transport,
Yeah.
from deciphering different names for underground systems
Right.
to the specifics of giving directions.
Yeah.
Then we ventured into the realm of driving,
Mm-hmm.
considering everything from traffic jams to the benefits of hybrid cars.
Right.
And finally, we took to the skies with a discussion about air travel,
Right.
highlighting the often stark differences between budget and full-service airlines.
Yeah.
And all of this through the practical lens of English vocabulary and understanding different perspectives on how we move through the world.
Indeed. What's particularly insightful is how even a seemingly ordinary topic like transportation can reveal so much about our daily routines,
Yeah.
our priorities, and the infrastructure that shapes our communities.
Right.
Having the language to discuss these things effectively
Yeah.
allows for clearer communication and a deeper understanding of the world around us.
And on that note, here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
Reflecting on all the different modes of transport we've discussed, and particularly the contrasting experiences with budget airlines versus other options.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the sweet spot between cost savings and a comfortable, reliable journey? Is there a point where trying to save money on transportation actually ends up costing you more in other ways, like time stress or unexpected fees?
Interesting.
It's something to think about the next time you're planning a trip, whether it's across town or across the globe.
I like it.
Okay, so that's all for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time.